Business ownership is about leveraging your time, and you're being the visionary, the thinker, the conductor. Your other staff is playing the instruments. You're composing and conducting what they do. Patient delight is customer service. Patient delight is delivering a great experience, whether you call them patients or clients, they're customers of your business. We touched on it at the workshop last week. Patient delight is all about the experience that happens right from the get-go. I mean, we could even go prior to that, to the pre-engagement phase, when they actually engage in your website or see you speaking in social media or something like that, or read something. But in this case, we'll just start it out with that initial phone call to your office. That's when the experience that they have with you begins. And then we know that we want to meet them where they are. So understanding where they are at each of these stages allows us to meet them there and provide them what they need. So we talked about at the beginning that some people will feel anxious, worried, concerned, especially if they've never had services from you before. So there's things that we can do to meet them, to create a better experience that then leads to 5-star reviews, leads to more referrals, leads to showing up for their appointments. So this patient delight, delighting your people all the way through their journey with you, does not end when they're discharged. Actually, it's really where it begins. Because the idea is it takes so much more money, so much more time and effort to develop a relationship. It takes very little effort to maintain it, but it will take a lot if you let that relationship go. So this is where the nurture sequence comes in. I know we were talking about nurture and cultivation of referral sources, but there's also a nurture sequence that we're doing with our patients and our past patients and our past clients. So kind of honing in on this idea of reactivation, you know your business better than anybody. So I can speak for outpatient orthopedics as an example. I know that the people that I see in my business, after a few months, a couple things are going to happen once they're discharged, which is why it's so key to actually officially discharge people and not just kind of keep it hanging on. But once they're discharged, I know a couple things. One, many times they're going to get out of the habit of doing whatever they were doing with me, continuing that. That's helping them because the accountability's gone. Right? They're not showing up. You're not asking them questions. I also know because of the musculoskeletal nature of things, again, my business, your business may vary, that within a few months, a problem could come back, especially if the problem was such that it was a movement pattern issue. And then the other thing, if they are doing well, a lot of times they've talked to people about their problems. And there's a great opportunity to actually see if there's someone else that we potentially could help. It's almost like there's two areas we can help them, either providing advice or perhaps having them come back in for a checkup or a consultation, or perhaps just flat out come back in for another bout of sessions or a reaffirmation that what we did worked well. And of course, and asking of, is there someone else that you know that we could help? Someone else that might be in pain or whatever the case is. This is the reactivation, patient reactivation. It's a continuum of patient delight to check in with people after a certain amount of time. In this case, we'll say 90 days to see how they're doing. Now, how do we do that? The easiest way is through email, specifically automation of email. You can put together a template that automatically goes out, assuming that there is a clear discharge date. Hey, Edwin, really enjoyed seeing you for your fill in the blank. Your back problem a few months ago. Just wanted to check in to see how you're doing. Would love to hear from you. What you're trying to do is get into engagement with them. That's the idea of patient reactivation. It really isn't any more complicated than that. Everything else is really based on SOPs to make sure it's consistent. Every single person at the 90-day mark gets an email. Not sometimes they do, sometimes they do. Everyone gets one. You could also go even deeper than that. And you could say, and I'll also be giving you a call to check in with you. And then you can follow up with a call as well as the email. This alone will separate you from pretty much anybody's competition out there because really nobody does this.
I'll just share that. So this was my 30-day sprint in May, was setting up my automated reactivation. So I'm very satisfied with how it came out, and the fact that now we can just tag a person as discharged in my mail platform, and it will send out those automated emails exactly like what you said. So it was a little bit of work for me to get it set up, but now that it's set up, I'm really excited about what the simplicity of not having to remember when it's 30 or 60 or 90 days.
You set it and you forget it, right? When it comes to automation, but you always want to make sure it's genuine though. You can check in again in another 3 months. You can do 3-month check-ins for the next year and a half. Again, it's a part of your nurturing campaign for a client. You're looking at it in a different perspective. You're looking at how you're staying connected with them with relevant, good content, with a specific check-in. How are you doing? Love to hear back from you. Something for them to have to do. And of course, you can play with maybe a program. P.S. We got a new Stay Fit Back program. So there's lots of other things you can do. The key is where people kind of lose it here. They don't put in place what this is, meaning it's on somebody's plate to remember to do it. No bueno. And if it's on your plate, double no bueno. It has to use technology and has to be automated as much as possible.
What software did you use to automate it? So you said you just press a button.
There's a lot of different softwares out there. Some of the EMR systems now have some capabilities. Here's what kills me with the EMR systems. They already have all of the data points of all your clients. So all we're looking for is a way to talk to them and speak to them, which they should have it either in an email or a text. A lot of them are adding the text component in there. So the first place I would look is your own EMR system and ask them, do you have a way that I can communicate? A lot of them are adding this marketing channels.
Okay.
If not, still Constant Contact out there. MailChimp is out there. Infusionsoft or Keep, KEAP, or you can type in Infusionsoft. That's what we use. That's what I've been using for a long time. It's a big system. It's a robust system. It can do a million things. You may not need that level, or I'm sure you can purchase a lower level. The key is it's a communication tool as well as a tracking tool, because here's what we're really doing. I'll go deep on you right now. What we're really doing is we're experts in behavior. That's what we do. Everything we do, we want to see what the reaction of the audience that we're reaching out to. So if you send an email, which is why I said to Patrick, if you're sending emails to people, are you looking at, are they opening the emails? Because if you're not opening the email, then whatever you said in the email really is irrelevant. And if they are opening the email, did they engage in the email on some level? This is where our brain starts to move when we talk about marketing, we talk about patient delight. We're looking at the behavior actions of our people.
So one thing that we've been doing for that, catching those discharges, because our EMR doesn't, we don't use WebPT anymore, but this has worked really well, is we just made it SOP that my therapists log their discharges on a spreadsheet in Google Drive. And I have a halfway retired PTA who works from home, and she goes through that spreadsheet every day from home, and she's in charge of all of the after discharge follow-up.
I love that. And I think I brought this up at some point, minimum viable, well, usually it's minimum viable product, but in this case, we'll call it the minimum viable process. It's MVP. And the minimum viable process is just get a process going, and then we can make it better.